Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Sexual dynamics versus social dynamics. Now, I talk a lot about sexual dynamics, and that's basically how people interact sexually. Because one of the big things, and I need to talk about this, one of the big things, especially with many men, they don't understand the true dual nature of women. And I mean, we have it too, but one thing with men, our sexual and social dynamics tend to be a little bit more public. You know, men can go out and say, hey, you know what, I'm doing all this and, you know, I'm interacting with this woman because, you know, she got a fat ass, right? But women, they hide a part of themselves. They hide a part. And see, when I say sexual versus social, it's about, like with women in particular, socially, they might act like they want one thing, but sexually, they want something completely different. They want something completely different. I'll give you a great example, because there's all this talk lately about six-figure men. And, you know, women definitely want that. But when they talk about the money or even the personality traits, that's a social thing. But what they might not say is they want it in a certain sexual package. That would be ideal. Indeed, with my book, Nice Guys and Players, a lot of women bought it because I would use one simple sales pitch with them. I say, yeah, I know y'all want that good guy, that hardworking guy. But you want him to have the skills of a player to turn you on sexually. And they'd agree and buy the book. It worked every time. Every time. Well, maybe not every time. I say 80% of the time. 80% of the time. Right? But that's still a lot. You're talking 8 out of 10 women and stuff. And I used one simple sales pitch and it worked. That's because that's the nature of them. And one of the things with the sexual and social dynamics, they're not the same thing. Indeed, that's part of what makes the sexual shadow world what it is. See, women in particular, when they interact with men socially, they realize they can't really show their sexual self. So they'll talk about the social aspect. Because they know they got to be seen out in public with them. They know they got to interact with them. And even though you have many women who are making their own money nowadays, you know, they still want that companionship at the very least. So that's a social thing. And many of them will get that man on a social thing. And, you know, socially, that man needs to, you know, he needs to look a certain way, particularly, not so much his physicality, but he needs to look like he fits into whatever their social milieu is. You know, he needs to look like he might go to that particular church, or he needs to look like he's that particular social class. These are all on the surface, and it's very real. It's very real. You know, when a woman got to bring that dude home to meet her crazy Uncle Junior who gonna clown him if he ain't acting right, that's the issue. That's the thing. And that's a very key thing to deal with. That's a very key thing to deal with. And one of the things we have out here, a lot of people are focused on the surface dynamics, on the social thing. And they, like I said, they are important. But then the woman's sexual side in particular, and as I said earlier, men tend to blend them together more, not so much with women. Their sexual side might want something totally different. Hence why you have a lot of women, they'll get that guy. They'll even get that six-figure dude. They will get that six-figure dude, you know, and got a nice house, maybe even have a kid with him or something. But then cheat with some muscular young boy or something. Indeed, that's a common thing with a lot of rich couples. You know, the woman with him, and some guys think he got it, but, you know, he doubled back home one day. You know, y'all know what I was going to say. He doubled back home and find out something else. The my bad scenario. But it's a real thing. It's a sexual dynamic. Indeed, that's why you will get some women, they will have sex with their young guy or that guy who just can turn them out, that guy who just turns them on physically. And it's a totally different thing. It's a totally like one thing, like one big difference between the social dynamics and the sexual dynamics. With the social dynamics, people got to follow certain rules. That's, people got to follow certain rules of behavior. That's why when it's, socially, it don't look right with an older woman with a younger man. And indeed, it don't always look right with an older man and a younger woman. It's acceptable if that man is rich. People expect that. So, and it happens. And that's halfway a social thing, too. But if that younger woman gets with that older man and it's just because he know how to turn her out, people are looking like, that's why that sexual dynamic is a big thing in interracial relationships. It's a big thing in some of the fetish, not some, all the fetish communities. The sexual aspect. People practice what they practice because that's how they get off sexually. And that dynamic, one thing about the sexual dynamic, it don't follow the rules of the social. It really don't. People think it do, but it doesn't. The truth, when I say sexual, I'm talking about pure sexual attraction. Pure sexual attraction, not conditional, but pure sexual attraction. And it's not the same as a social thing. It's not the same. Even with men who try to blend them, who have a tendency to try to blend them together, it's not the same. Because, when you behind closed doors, anything can happen. Anything can happen. So this is important. And it's important to understand that. And that's why I've done quite a few podcasts and videos, even some on-demand stuff, talking about the sexual dynamics. People got to understand that. Especially men have to understand that when they're looking at that woman. You're looking at that woman, you might look at that woman and she look like some outstanding woman, classy. She don't have, she don't look ratchet or anything, but you don't know how she get down behind closed doors. In fact, you need to know that first. Now, here's the thing. And this is one thing that I would say differentiates me from other people. Especially anybody talking about the game a man gets women. Most other people, there's some people on the same page as me. I'm looking at the sexual dynamic. I'm telling men how to turn on a woman sexually, not socially. If you listen to me, I'm telling men how to turn on a woman sexually because that hits her on a deeper level. That's your best shot because you might not make that six figures. You might not be in her particular social class. You might not practice religion the same way she does. But you have an opening at her, a way to get at her, if you turn her on sexually. Very key, very key. But whatever the case, those are two different worlds. Those are two different worlds. Even with men who tend to try to blend them together more, if they really think about it, those are two different things. How many men who might be, they could be educated, making a lot of money, know they would tear that ratchet up in a second if they didn't think there was a consequence. Now, they might not want to be seen with her, but they know, they know they want to hit it. They just don't want to, they just wanted to leave. So, anyway, just something to think about, all right? So, anyway, I get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.